Hi, I'm Chema Nguyen. I'm the co-founder of CFTE, and I welcome you to the Upskilling series. We all see the world going digital, rapidly transforming our lives, our jobs, and the way we live all together. In fact, the pandemic has only been a catalyst to this transformation, and it's up to us to adapt to this technology-driven world. So how do you adapt to these changes? How do you find talent for the roles that don't exist yet? Well, the Upskilling series aims to find its answers to all these questions by interviewing global experts, CEOs of fintech startups, and thought leaders to shed some lights on the jobs of tomorrow in financial services and fintech. Let's start with our next guest. I'm extremely pleased to have today Romain Berthomé, Senior Product Manager at Uber. Hi, Romain. How are you?
Hi, Tram. Thanks a lot for having me in this forum. I'm really pleased to talk with you.
No, thanks a lot for joining us. I'd love to start, with a question, which is, could you share your own career path and what's your role today, Romain?
So if I work a bit backwards, like today I'm senior product manager at Uber, as you mentioned. It has been like 3 years that I joined, the Uber Money team in Amsterdam, where I basically, have worked mainly on two initiatives. One being the way we pay, earners globally, and the second one be how do we unlock basically local payment methods for all Uber LOB to ensure that user can pay the way they want on our platform. Prior to join Uber, I actually spent 3 years of my time in Germany working for Rocket Internet, working for one of their ventures called the Global Saving Group. There I was basically, product manager in charge of acquisition, conversion optimizations, and retention for basically 60 different websites that were couponing websites or saving website, discount websites, that were allowing, e-commerce users to basically, get discounts for the product that they buy online. Prior to that, I was, in France right after, wrapping my studies. I was product manager at Johnson & Johnson, this big American pharmaceutical company. And I was basically, working on what we call FMCG brands. So brands that, Biaffi, Nicorette, Neutrogena. And my role there was basically to build digital experience that would enhance the physical goods experience. Basically, I work on smoking cessation program, for example, for the Nicorette brand. And that's about it. That's my journey. Yeah.
It's very impressive and a huge, career already, shift from different industries, from Johnson & Johnson to Uber today. And how do you personally acquire new skills, upskill yourself?
I think, for me, there is really two sides. There is one side that are, really the skills that I acquired in my work environment. And there is the other side, which is the skills that I'm going to acquire, outside of my work environment. On the first one, I basically see three ways, where I'm acquiring skills. The first one is, and I think that's the main one and the most valuable to me. It's the one-on-one coaching time that I get with my manager on a weekly basis. When you start, it's probably 2 hours per week, and no, it's a bit half an hour every week. That's really like, really good quality times where you get feedback from your manager. And this person is the person that know you the most in the entire organization. Like she or he gets feedback, from different peers that you are working with. She gets feedback from your work. And basically this person is the most able to basically coach you and give you feedback on what you need to improve. So that's, the first one. The second one, is, I would say, something we have at Uber that I like a lot is this peer sharing knowledge. So we have that forum of PMs in Amsterdam where basically every week, we have the opportunity to share and learn from other PMs on a product launch, an experiment, user research that we have done. And this is basically, a live sessions where we basically compare the process or the things that we're doing differently with others and basically can learn from others. The second one that is mainly maybe the least interesting but still extremely valuable is the e-learning platform that we have at Uber, I think extremely useful for learning new tools and how they work. A week ago, I remember completing a training on the new risk tool that we basically have. And that's basically, ensure that you can operate autonomously and do your work autonomously, which is great. On the other side, and here that's, I would say more personal opinion, is how, outside of my work environment, I basically managed to get new skill. The first one is basically books, and it's pretty obvious. For me, it's mainly listening to books rather than reading to books. I'm more, an audiobook person. I think it's a great way to basically learn about what's going on your industry. So for me, it's, product management, staying up to date, with other product management, concepts that are being applied at other companies and so on. So this could be books or articles, and that's, I think, extremely useful and valuable. The second thing there, which I like because I'm someone that is passionate about understanding how technology works, for me is, e-learning platform online. I'm specifically a big fan of Udacity. I have used other, Udemy, Open Classroom, and so on. I think, those e-learning platform online is especially great because from the beginning to the end, with concrete projects, they really step by step allow you to gain new skills, and then you can really translate those skills that you acquired kind of outside of work directly on some projects that you're having at work. So for me, that's a different way. That's basically I managed to upskill myself today.
Super, no, excellent, and I'm glad to know that you're a fond of e-learning. And you talk about books, so I cannot ask you. Would you, give us 3 books that you really recommend? I mean, your top, favorite 3 books.
I think the top 3 reading that I would recommend. The 2 recent one that I read, I would definitely recommend them. They are both books by Marty Kagan. There is the Empowered one, which I think, it's more for product organizations and how you want to structure your product organizations. And there is another one, which is inspired by Marty Kagan too, which is more about, the product discovery and how, you need to learn from your user in order to basically, build your product and all that kind of things. I think those 2 ones are extremely powerful. They are super complete. There is a lot of insights as well from different companies, different product managers. So it's a really good aggregation. And the other one, which is, probably, I would say lower level or more, entry level, is probably, the Design Sprints made by, Google Venture. This is, I think, a great book, when you want to learn about user research, when you want to learn about quick prototyping techniques. That's, I think, those 3 books, I would really recommend them to every level product manager. If you are interested in product management, or even if you are senior product management, they are extremely interesting because there is a lot of insights, and that would definitely save you a lot of time in your current work. I guarantee that.
Thanks, Romain. My next question is more towards your team. How do you upskill your team? And if you can perhaps, share with us some successful initiative you've done in your company.
Okay, that's definitely a great question and a great challenge to solve. The technique that basically I use, that's the same that I mentioned, earlier. Like, I think the base for upscaling your team is this one-to-one, coaching sessions that you have. That's basically the fundamental for providing efficient feedback, and for me, I have basically, people that I'm managing directly, where I'm going to have like weekly, one-on-one session. And I'm going to have people I'm interacting with, like engineers, like data scientists, where I'm going to have probably a longer feedback loop because I'm not directly their manager. And for them, it's probably bi-weekly or monthly, where we have, those one-on-one coaching sessions where we can mutually give each other feedback and ensure that, we basically are able to improve. That's, I would say, the foundations. Then there is different tools that we're using. The other tools that we're using are, basically pairing people. This work extremely well, for example, on engineering, where basically when you have one engineer that's going to work on another code base, you want to pair them together so they can learn from each other and unblock themselves. But that's work as well, well for product manager like myself. Sometimes, you're not going to be as knowledgeable on one of the area, and you might want to be paired with another product manager to ensure that you can learn from here or from her in order to get those skills yourself. That's one. And the other one that I used recently is training recommendations, so e-learning platform recommendation. And this case, I'm especially using it where I see that someone is struggling to get or assimilate a concept that I basically struggle myself as well before on. And I'm going to say, okay, that was kind of my recipe, to manage that concept and master that concept. And basically, I'm going to recommend sometime, the same training that I did. And because I know that somehow it might produce the same outcome. So I would say that's the two main tools that today I'm using on my job in order to basically ensure that I can upskill and help people that are working with me.
Very good advice. And you've worked, with different organizations. What would be your advice to fellow leaders on upskilling? And to go a little bit deeper, how do you think they could transform their people in a startup?
Okay. Is your question about the more about the challenge for organizations?
Yes.
Okay.
So I could rephrase it if you want. So Romain, if you can tell us, from your experience of working for other organizations, large organization to a startup, what are the challenges that you see organization to upskill their employees? Mm-hmm. And perhaps I'll say, there's always this question about retention of talent. And what do you think? What would be your advice to fellow leaders, on that?
I think, the main challenge that I have seen, working across different companies and different organizations for upskilling people, I think the main challenge is people. And what I mean here is, I think not everyone is meant to be a manager and provide, recurring coaching. I think it's something that you need to know how to do it, and you need to be willing to do it. And those are the two different stuff. And while I think, companies have invested massively on e-learnings platform, providing learnings or access to conferences to their employees, I think we are still lacking in companies the recognition that not everyone needs to be a manager to succeed in their career. And often you see in some companies that if you don't become a manager and stay an individual contributor, an IC, you can't basically grow further. And I'm personally a big believer of having two parallel tracks, one for IC that want to become more and more seniors, running bigger projects with higher complexity, with higher dependency. And another track which allow, an individual contributor to basically say, okay, no, I have learned enough in my area, and I'm ready to basically take a next challenge by managing, people and basically make them becoming better. And I think organizations needs to basically evolve and provide that model. And then we would end up in a place where we have managers that their only focus would be training people and making people grow. And I think that's the next and the biggest challenges for organizations in order to upskill their employees.
That's very, very good. No, it's very, very true. And at Uber, tell me, Romain, who are the people you are hiring? And how would you describe your day-to-day job?
So that's a good question. I'm going to split that into two.
Yes.
I'm going to first.
My first question is that at Uber, who are the people you are hiring?
We are hiring. I think, in general, we are hiring a lot of people for different functions. And actually, at the moment, we're hiring a lot. So if anyone listening to that video want to see the available opportunities, definitely recommend you to check uber.com/careers. But in general, I'm going to talk a bit more about the product manager positions, which I know best. I think the people we are hiring, the things we are looking at, obviously, we are looking people from different horizon. I think, if you look at the PM team in Amsterdam, we all have different backgrounds. If I think about my previous manager, she was coming from operation and then moved to product management. Another of our colleagues did the same. There are other people that move, from engineering more backgrounds to, product manager. And there is people like myself that have been product manager their entire career. So I think the background, can be really different for product manager. I think what matter is the three things that we are looking at when we hire a product manager. And those three things are really, one, being customer obsessed. That's, really the stuff that is driving us. We want to ensure that we solve problem for our customer. And we are looking for people that, are obsessed by solving customer problem. That's the first one. The second one, and it's being data-driven. An important job of being a product manager is to be able to prioritize and take decisions. And those decisions, we make them on data. So you need to be comfortable, playing with data and making decisions based on data. And the third one is we often solve, customer problems with technology. So basically, you need to have a good engineering comprehension. So that's really, the three things that we're looking at when we're hiring someone. A pro tip that I can give to someone, this is an article we shared between the PM group in Amsterdam, is we say that great product manager, or this article say that great product manager are 10, 30, 50, which means that a great product manager is in the 10% more skill in one of the domain, let's say customer obsession, 30% more skill in data, and the 50% of product manager that are the more skill in engineering comprehension. So you can't master all the domains because those are really last and large domain. So you need to be focusing on some, and basically you need to be exceptionally good on one. You need to be good on another one, and you need to be on the top 50% on the third one. That would be really, my tips for anyone looking to become a great product manager.
We'll remember 10, 30, 50. We'll remember. So where do you find these people?
Again, I think, as I told you, we are really hiring people from a different background, and we really, at Uber embrace diversity, we believe that this is something that helps us get, different inputs and build better products, basically. So if I look, at the people we have hired in the past, as I mentioned, some of them, were actually designers and switched to be product manager. They basically, were super strong on the customer obsession, were good on the data side, and were every time, whenever they were designing something, were interested about the technical challenges, There are people that were actually engineers and, but whenever they were building their technical solution, they were every time thinking, okay, is this solution going to be good for the user? What does it's going to bring them? In which journey this user is? So those people are actually, transforming and basically changing to a different role. And obviously, we are hiring as well previous product manager, that have experience in previous company. And again, what we are really looking at for each of those person is ability to put themselves in the shoes of the customer. That's really, one of the key things we're looking at. And obviously, on top of the three things that I mentioned, the customer obsession, the data-driven mind, and, the engineering comprehension, what we add to this is, the communication skills, the strategic skills, which is the ability, to define a strategy and a vision for your team, a year, 3 years down the line. And that's more what we're looking for, senior position. Mm-hmm. On the communication side, what we're looking at is, good ability to communicate, because one of the key things for a product manager is to be able to communicate with different stakeholders. And this is quite a central, position. You interact with operation team, marketing teams, support teams, other engineering and product teams, and leadership teams. So that's really, you need to have this ability as well to master communication.
Super. No, thanks a lot, Romain. At CFT, we have a large community of professionals. Some of them, a large majority of them, are finance professionals. Mm-hmm. And today, some of them are coming to us and they are looking to get into tech companies like Uber. And so my question to you would be, what would be the best piece of advice you would give to a finance professional who is looking perhaps to get into Uber?
Really, really interesting question. I think, again, I'm going to speak mainly from, the product manager side, and that might not apply to all the positions that we have available. But I think, from a product management perspective, I think at Uber, we have a really specific way to solve problems that you can find in, some startups or some, big, tech companies like Uber. We often, don't rely on big market studies or big trends, but we much more, prefer to ground our insights into customer insights, where we go, talk to our customers directly in order to know what are their pain points, what are their current experience, in which context they are using our products, and as well on the data that we collect directly from our products. So I think my piece of advice, to the people working in finance and looking, to do a switch, would be try to basically, learn more about like the way companies like Uber approach, problem solving. And I recommend a couple of the books, that explain that, in a great way, and try to apply that, in your job, on a daily or on a weekly basis, and try, to master that kind of way of solving problems. And, once you have done that and when you feel comfortable, I think another tip that I could give is there is a fantastic YouTube channel for Product School, which do a lot of mock-up interview for product manager. I would definitely encourage, like looking at some of those videos in order to see like what is a typical product manager interview, because to be honest, that's quite, quite specific, and that's quite a drill, like questions are flying and so on. So basically getting used to it is definitely like something that you want to have practice before joining an interview in real case.
Sure. And would you mind sharing with us the website?
I can definitely share with you the URL of the YouTube channel for sure.
Excellent. And now, we have, finance professionals, we have professionals coming to us, but we have also, students freshly graduated coming out of universities and looking, to get into this new world. The reality is that with, today with this fastest, change that is happening in acceleration of digitalization, jobs are changing. Jobs are transforming. You have those who are being created. And so what are the top jobs you are seeing being created today, and perhaps most in demand compared to 5 years ago?
Really interesting question. It's really hard to say like, how tendencies are going to evolve. But if we speak about today, I think, first of all, like the job market is probably extremely fragmented and different across different markets. I think, US is probably a different market. But if I focus myself, in Europe, in I would say American companies, I would say that I see that there is more, product manager position opening, more data scientist or product analyst position open, and more user researcher position open. I think we move in Europe from that world where the product management function we're seen as, okay, there is someone in our company, that's basically understand well the business, understand a bit the technology, and there is an open positions. Okay, we're gonna let him think about what we need to do for the user. To this mindset where we see the value in product management. We see that we need to plan ahead. We need to basically learn deeper about our customer. We need to follow certain methodology to ensure that we learn the right way from our customer. And, bit by bit, I see that, product manager positions have gained traction. And with that as well, the key function that are needed in the product team are as well gaining traction. And I'm talking here about data scientist, product analyst, and, user researcher. So I think I see like all those functions, at least in Europe, getting more traction. And I think that's definitely needed if you need to build, and if you want to build, top product experience.
So I have a bonus question, and we've been, you give advice, to a finance professional who is looking to get into Uber. You give advice, very valuable advice for those who are considering jobs that are newly created. And my question now, it's a bonus question. What tips would you give to someone aiming for a C-level position in a startup?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks a lot. I think, for me, when obviously there is different startup stages, and, if I talk about, an early stage startup, I think probably my advice is that when you are in an early stage startup, you have that unique opportunity to basically be close to the customer and know their problem. So really my piece of advice would be, roll up your sleeve and spend as much time, with the customer, trying to learn the problem, trying, to see how they use the products and what you need to basically build for them in order to, solve their problem. I think that's really, that unique moments where you can, really be in touch with the customer, and all those insights are going to be extremely valuable in the long term when you build the strategy, when you build your vision, and they're going to be able to inform that. As the company is growing, as a C-level positions, you're going to lose that momentum, and you're going to lose that opportunity, to basically be able to be in touch with the customer. And even if your company and your org is growing, I definitely recommend, to anyone in C-level positions or anyone that is not in touch directly with the customer, to still spend, maybe 2 hours every 2 weeks or on a monthly basis to talk to the customers, because this is extremely useful. As a C-level, you are making big decisions that influence the entire org, and you want to ensure that your reality as a C-level is the same as the reality of the customer. That's going to allow you, when you are in these roadmap review meetings, to understand why your product guys have basically prioritized those problems this way and not another way. So getting that context, extremely easy to get when it's an early stage startup, and I think this moment is really key to learn from the users.
I totally agree with you. It's totally in line with what we think as well at CFT. I think you answered a lot of questions most people have in mind. So thanks a lot, Romain. Thanks a lot for your time. And how can people connect with you?
First of all, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to you, Tram, and to the CFTE. People can definitely, reach out to me on LinkedIn. My profile, Romain Berthomé. You can easily find me, and I'm doing my best to answer the questions I get, definitely.
Okay. Now, thank you for being with us today, and I see you all for the next interview. Thanks, Romain, and
Thanks
see you
a lot.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a lot. I'm already looking forward to the next interview. In the meantime, if you wish to learn more about the new world of finance, I invite you to check our previous videos where we welcome many guest experts to share their views. You can check out CFT's blog and articles to learn more and start your fintech journey. If you'd like to go further, you can acquire the basics in fintech, AI or open banking under 40 minutes with our free masterclasses from our experts. You can find all this information in the description below. Again, thank you for being with us today, and see you for the next interview.